Welcome to Reflections on Identity, a podcast series exploring educators' narratives on their professional identity. Today, we are talking to Roy Moyser, who is a group convener for the University of the Third Age. Roy, welcome to this series. Do you think you could start by telling us a little bit about your role?
Thank you. Yes, I see my role as really being a facilitator, really, more than a teacher, and an encourager for people to investigate what philosophy is and where it's come from, and possibly where it's going to. So I don't see myself as a teacher as you would normally kind of define a teacher in a classroom teaching children or even adults, but more as someone who wants to facilitate people's bringing their own ideas to the forum and getting hold of other new ideas.
Roy, I'd normally start the next bit by asking you more about identity, but as people might not necessarily know what the University of the Third Age is, would you be able to sort of briefly say what it is and what its sort of aims are and who it's aimed at, just so people are a bit more aware of the organisation?
Yeah, there's basically two flavors of U3A. There's one, a national organization, which originated in France, and as it was really envisaged, it was not meant to be a sort of teaching and pupil kind of relationship, not really like a university in actual fact, but more a place where people would come together with certain skills and share those skills. More of a sharing. You don't sit formal examinations or things like that. Now, there is a slight difference in the Cambridge U3A, which I teach at as well. There, it's a little bit more formal. People attend classes about specific topics, and you have a kind of seminar lecture um, format.
Who is the E3A actually aimed at? Who would be the typical
Well,
participants?
there's the typical participant is possibly, well, probably retired, and it's the third age because, yeah, so the three ages of humans, so we tend to be retired at that end of the scale in our dotage, as one might say. Uh, But however, technically, anyone can join as long as they are not working full time. That's the only criteria.
And you've alluded to the fact that you see yourself more as a facilitator, and my understanding the U3A, it's very much around that you're facilitating any kind of knowledge or learning, rather than being a sort of a formal role as a lecturer or as a teacher. Um, with that in mind, how would you sort of describe your identity as a facilitator? Does that and are you aware of that identity whilst you're involved?
Yeah, I must admit, I had to think about that, and whilst looking at some of the other podcasts, just to see where people are coming from. And my conclusion is that I see myself, my identity is still very much as a student, because one of the reasons I wanted to teach, not teach, facilitate philosophy was that although my degree was in philosophy, I still didn't know a hell of a lot. So I saw the idea of facilitating seminars in philosophy as a means for me to be able to brush up and improve my kind of understanding of philosophy. So that's where I saw it heading.
And I suppose how does that then differentiate? How would you distinguish that from a teacher? Because I suppose if I'm playing devil's advocate, a teacher or a lecturer might say something similar if they were being completely honest anyway. I mean, and we know that sometimes people don't always divulge how much or how little they do know when they're in that role. But if we take that view that a teacher or a lecturer would maybe have that mentality, how would you see what you do? And I think it is different because I've been to U3A meetings and groups. It is different. How would you distinguish that from a more formal teacher come lecturer role?
I think the difference possibly is in philosophy. There's many different kind of ways of looking at things, and so you're never in that position where you're the absolute authority. Like, for example, if you're talking about electrical circuits, there's one way of not getting electric shock, and that's the way that you teach it. But philosophy is different, so it's pretty. I'm not saying it's totally open ended, but it is open ended. So you are there to help people find their own ideas as well as figuring out what your beliefs are as well. So yeah.
And would you see there being any kind of collective sense to who you are as a U3A facilitator? I mean, is there other U3A facilitators you work with? I mean, I know, for instance, you're also involved in the Royal Institute for Philosophy as well, aren't you? Um, I is your identity informed by working with other people, I suppose is what I'm asking, in the organisation or elsewhere?
I think so. In the group, there's a number of people in the group who contribute in a really thoughtful way, and I have to, you know, I like hearing what kind of contribution they're going to make, and I have to kind of think and take that into account. So it's a collaborative effort. It's not a dictatorship. It's a collaboration, and hopefully we all kind of jog along together and discover things. And well, so far it's been a good kind of formula. Working with people. You know.
Do you have any sense of working with other group conveners, either because you're working, I mean, you're in the St Ives Cambridgeshire group,
Yeah.
either within that wider U3A in St Ives or even wider than that? I mean, you've spoken about Cambridge and other places, or we know you've worked in Cambridge and other places. Is there a sense of a kind of a community of practice across U3A conveners?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there is. I think first of all, we're all volunteers, so, so there's we all have a cross to bear being a volunteer, and we're all doing it for possibly the love of it. Um, so there is that, and also we've got some very very good conveners. That one gentleman I can think of in particular, he teaches about 6 different language classes in St Ives. I mean, that's incredible. So credit where credit's due. Yeah, and other people teach our various subjects, which is yeah, and we all come together occasionally. We've got a another a showcase day at the end of April. So yeah, so we do actually come together. I am on the one of the trustees and one of the committee members of St Ives Group. Um, yeah.
And do you feel that kind of interaction has an influence on your own identity as a convener? This sort of working with other conveners across the group?
Yes, I think that's true. Yeah. It's it's something I've never really thought about, but yeah, you do kind of feel that um yeah, a sense of it's not really belonging or anything like that. It's just, you know, of being part of a teamwork.
Yeah.
It's that buzz of being part of a team.
And I mean, the last sort of question I was going to ask, really, Roy, was what would you see your key sort of values? I mean, as a philosopher yourself, or as someone who is interested or has studied philosophy closely, values and ethics are very closely entwined with any aspect of our identity. Do you have any kind of key values that you feel epitomizes who you are as a convener in the U3A?
One of the values that I wanted, well, make happen in St. Margie U3A was that where I have been a member of other U3As and done philosophy there, and I found that it was really just big argument.
Mm.
So I didn't. I didn't want that, and having studied philosophy, I wanted people to learn what philosophy was really all about, and with two specific aims really, because um, one was that people very vulnerable, particularly at our end of the life scale, to being fraud and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to people to gain awareness about knowledge, about what we can say is knowledge, what isn't. And then on the other side of that is that claims to knowledge on the TV, you know, I wanted people to be able to, to filter out the kind of the sense from the nonsense. That was my aim, really. Yeah.
So really what you're sort of stating, I think, if I've understood you right, is that what you're doing or the people you're working with and collaborating with, there seems to be a sort of a very practical edge to that in terms of knowledge being used in very, very practical ways, which I suppose goes back to the original function of what philosophy was and for, isn't it?
Well, that was my intention. To if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it properly. I say properly,
Yeah.
as far as I can do it. That was a big aim of mine. So I did want it to be as good as it can be.
Yeah. So kind of having a sort of a standard and sticking to that.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and I think that's people have appreciated that, and we've got quite a we've got 48 members in St Ives, and that's quite big, I would say, for anywhere, let alone.
Yes. No, I mean, that's a big group, compared across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for giving up your time, Roy, on a Monday afternoon. Carol, have you got anything you want to either add or expand upon from what Roy and I have spoken about?
Yeah, it's probably expanding upon one of the points. I'm just wondering, because you talked quite a lot about, you were very clear that this was facilitation, it wasn't teaching, that seemed to be a definite difference in terms of what you were saying. And I'm wondering how much your previous role, um, previous professional role, might have influenced how you approach this role.
Yeah, I in my previous I was a data analyst, um, and actually I did end up teaching that properly. Used something called the academy, where we taught people data analytics. So I did have um, a kind of experience. However, I didn't have the proper training and background that a normal teacher, well, a teacher would have. I haven't got that. So I can't say that I've got that kind of handle on what needs to be done. So I'm a facilitator, I think.
But there was a bit of a transfer of learning there from I suppose your experience, wasn't there, but in that particular role
Yeah,
when you were doing some teaching as part of it.
yeah. It's definitely a great feeling if you, in education, if you can help people and,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roy, for giving your time, and we'll look forward to the episode and hope the listeners get a lot from it. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
You have been listening to Reflections on Identity. We hope you can join us for the next episode in our series. Click on the bell icon or follow for notifications. We'd also love to hear from you, so please put your thoughts in the comments. Bye for now.